Why do so many men chase women's attention but never earn their obsession? Here's the brutal truth. She's not ignoring you because you're too nice or not rich enough. She's ignoring you because you don't yet matter deeply to her psyche. And that's not her fault, it's your responsibility. You're trying to win her over with surface-level charm while starving her soul of substance. But obsession, real soul-burning obsession, isn't built on games. It's built on gravity, emotional weight, and psychological depth. A man who shifts her worldview. And the moment you understand that, everything changes. This isn't about manipulation. It's about transformation, becoming the kind of man whose presence haunts her thoughts in the best possible way, whose absence feels like silence in a room that used to sing. If you want her deeply obsessed, then stop performing. Start becoming. Because obsession isn't triggered, it's earned. Let me dive into the 7 hidden truths no one dares to tell you, but every man needs to hear. Why is it that some women can't forget you, even when they try, even when they swear they've moved on? Let me tell you something unsettling, something most people are too afraid to admit. It's not always love that leaves the lasting mark. It's impact. It's the psychological fingerprint you left behind when you showed up in a way no one else ever did. Now ask yourself, were you a man of presence, or were you just another fleeting ghost in her chaotic memory? We live in a culture that treats relationships like fast food, quick, convenient, disposable. But the soul doesn't digest love that way. Real connection, lasting connection is carved into the nervous system. You become part of her cognitive map, her routines, her emotions, her patterns. And that doesn't just go away. You see, when you show up as a man of chaos and clarity, when you embody unpredictability and unshakable presence, you awaken something ancient in the psyche. Have you ever wondered if there's a way to become someone others can't forget? To continue on that journey, let's explore the next principles. As we saw earlier, becoming unforgettable isn't about fleeting gestures or performing for attention. It's about transformation, about leaving a lasting impact that reverberates through someone's mind. Now, let's dive deeper into the essence of becoming that unforgettable presence. You, sir, are the very archetype of transformation. You become a symbol of danger, of depth, of something far more significant than what most people see on the surface. And women, don't forget symbols. They haunt their dreams, lingering in the quiet moments when everything else fades away. But here's where the psychological contrast that most miss comes into play. If you're inconsistent, weak, manipulative, or needy, yes, she will remember you, but it won't be with obsession. It'll be with regret, emotional recoil, and a lesson learned, not a longing for your presence. So the real question is, what did you leave her mind to hold on to? Was it growth, pain, safety, or chaos? Did you show her a version of herself she'd never seen before, a version that made her feel empowered? Or did you shrink her into someone smaller, someone filled with shame? The painful truth here is this. Most relationships don't fail because people stop loving each other. They fail because people fail to show up as someone worth remembering. They trade discipline for comfort, honesty for flattery, strength for validation. If you want to be unforgettable, stop trying to be liked. Start being real. A woman will become obsessed with the man who tells her the truth she's never heard before, but desperately needed. She won't forget the moment you stood your ground, not with arrogance, but with clarity. She won't forget when you challenged her instead of coddling her, when you demanded more from her because you saw the potential she didn't see in herself, not just what she was willing to settle for. Now, think about that for a moment. Think about the difference between a man who makes her feel good in the moment and a man who transforms how she sees herself forever. Which one lingers? There's actual neuroscience behind this. Emotional intensity helps encode memory. When an experience carries weight, whether it's fear, awe, tension, or desire, it imprints deeper in the brain. That's why casual encounters fade away, while intense, transformative conversations stay burned into the mind like a brand. So here's the challenge for you. Are you the kind of man who causes awakening, or are you just another fleeting dopamine hit in a sea of forgettable faces? When you stand with purpose, when your words cut through lies like a sword, when your presence forces others to confront themselves, you don't just leave a memory, you restructure their reality. But that level of impact, it's not handed to you. It's earned through suffering, solitude, and becoming a man who knows who he is, even when the world tempts him to be someone easier, softer, quieter. And here's the final truth, though, that's not exactly comfortable. This leads naturally to the next part, where we'll uncover the hard truths about the sacrifices that come with this level of personal transformation. As we dive deeper into the essence of unforgettable impact, let's recall that transformation, not just charm, is what leaves a lasting mark. It's not the kindness that stays with her, but the way you changed her. And transformation? That's unforgettable. Mic drop. If you want to live rent-free in her mind, become the man who ignites her soul with passion and then walks away with dignity. Why does she compare every man to you, even when she's in someone else's arms? It's because you weren't just another person in her life. You were an experience. And experiences, they don't leave quietly. Now, let's be brutally honest. Most men don't leave behind a legacy in a woman's psyche. They leave behind noise, disappointment, guilt, maybe a few scattered memories. But a man who is deeply rooted in his identity, who brings clarity amidst her internal chaos, that's the man who sticks with her. He doesn't haunt her like a ghost of regret, but as a reminder of what real connection felt like. We live in an age of superficial connections, where people fear emotional depth, where commitment is mocked and consistency is rare. But a woman doesn't obsess over men who follow trends. She obsesses over the one man who refused to lie, who didn't sugarcoat the truth, who looked her in the eye and said, "This is who I am. This is what I expect, and I won't tolerate anything less." That level of integrity, it burns into her memory. It shatters her illusions and forces her to confront what she truly desires and what she's been pretending she could live without. Now, contrast that with the weak, passive, emotionally codependent relationships that most people settle for. The kind where the man morphs into whatever she wants him to be. He becomes agreeable, pliable, safe but utterly forgettable. He says yes when he means no. He avoids conflict at all costs. He thinks compliance will make her stay, but what it really does is kill her respect for him. If you want her to stay, be the man she can respect. You want her to think of you months later, wondering why she can't let go? Be the man who disrupted her world with truth, not convenience. Let me ask you something. Have you ever told a woman no and meant it? Have you ever set a boundary and stood firm when she tested it? Not out of anger, but out of principle? If you haven't, then don't be surprised when she forgets you. Because the male archetype that stays with her, the one she obsesses over, isn't the passive provider. It's the integrated man, the one who balances his chaos with clarity. And as we move forward, let's explore how you can embody this integrated man, how you can achieve that unshakable presence that makes you impossible to forget. Ready to dive in? Let's continue. As we've seen, becoming unforgettable isn't about trying to please or impress. It's about embodying a presence that commands respect and leaves a lasting impact. Now, let's dive deeper into the essence of that powerful man who leaves a mark wherever he goes. He balances his discipline with strength, his dominance with compassion, and his silence with certainty. That man enters her life like a storm. And when he leaves, the air still feels charged with his presence. Psychologically, this makes perfect sense. The brain remembers contrast, trauma, and transformation, not mediocrity. When you introduce her to a higher standard, when you show her what presence, integrity, and masculine groundedness actually feel like, you permanently raise the bar. She knows it. She feels it. And ultimately, she aches for it. She might try to move on. She might convince herself that she's over you. But when the new man flinches under pressure, when he avoids difficult conversations, when he chooses comfort over courage, she'll feel the absence of what you once brought to her life. And it will gnaw at her. Because the truth is, you made her feel safe not by surrendering your edge, but by owning it. You led her without controlling her. You guided her without begging for her affection. You didn't just say you were different, you lived it. And that kind of man is not easily replaced. He becomes the psychological standard she subconsciously measures every other man against. Here's the mic drop moment. If you want to be unforgettable, stop trying to impress her and start showing her the man she didn't even know she needed until she met you. So, what happens to a woman's mind when a man walks away? Not out of bitterness, but out of principle. When he doesn't chase, doesn't plead, doesn't beg, but vanishes like fog burned away by the rising sun, it's chaos, controlled chaos. Deep down, something in her psyche registers that disappearance see not as weakness, but as unspeakable strength. You see, most men collapse when emotional intensity rises. They cave, apologize for existing, lose themselves in the process of trying to keep a woman who's already halfway out the door. But the man who can walk away, not out of pride, but out of clarity, is the man who becomes unforgettable because he proves he doesn't need her validation to be whole, and that terrifies her. But it also awakens something ancient in her. Let's think about this psychologically for a moment. Human beings are drawn to what they can't control, especially in relationships. When you're always available, always chasing, always reacting. She doesn't see strength. She sees instability. She sees a man who's emotionally dependent on her attention. Now, let's explore how this understanding of emotional independence can empower you and elevate the way you interact with the world around you. As we've explored so far, the key to lasting impact isn't about constantly seeking validation or chasing attention. It's about knowing your worth and remaining grounded in your own identity. Let's delve deeper into why this approach truly captivates a woman. That behavior doesn't inspire love. It triggers disgust. Why? Because biologically and psychologically, women aren't wired to desire the man who places her at the center of his universe. They desire the man who already has a universe of his own and chooses to share it with her. If you don't have that universe, if your entire identity crumbles when she pulls away, then you weren't loving her. You were using her to fill a void inside you. That's not love. That's addiction, disguised as romance. When you walk away with integrity, it sends a signal louder than words. You are rooted in something deeper than her approval. It tells her, I'm not here to be tolerated. I'm here to lead. And if you can't see the value in that, then I'll take it somewhere it's respected. The silence that follows haunts her because the kind of man who can disappear without drama is the kind of man who's not operating out of fear. He's not clinging. He's choosing. He's decisive. That's the kind of man who builds empires, not apologies. Now, let's talk about contrast. Weak men beg to be seen. Strong men become someone worth seeing. One is loud, the other is inevitable. She can try to replace you, but she won't find another man who left, not because he didn't care, but because he cared enough to demand respect. This creates a loop in her mind, a question she can't stop asking. Why didn't he chase me? And every time that question echoes, your presence grows. Because you didn't just disappear, you ascended. Don't misunderstand me. This isn't about manipulation. It's not about playing games. It's about alignment. It's about knowing who you are so deeply that no loss, no rejection can dismantle your sense of self. And that kind of man, that's rare. That's precious. That's what her soul is starving for, even if her ego fights it. So when you walk away, not from indifference, but from clarity, you become a paradox. The man who left but still lives in her mind. Not because you took something from her, but because you gave her something no one else did. A glimpse of what it means to be truly masculine. Here's the mic drop. If your absence doesn't echo louder than most men's presence, you were never truly there to begin with. What if I told you that mystery, not manipulation, is what truly captures the heart of a woman? Not games, not seduction tactics, but mystery born from a man who has depth he hasn't even shown yet. And that depth, it's not cultivated through chasing her. As we continue, let's explore how to develop that depth and mystery, and how it sets you apart in ways you've never imagined. Ready to learn more? Let's dive in. As we've seen, true emotional gravity isn't about overexposing yourself, but about having the depth and mystery that draw others in. Let's explore how that depth is cultivated and why it makes you unforgettable. It's cultivated by chasing yourself. Men are losing their edge because they've abandoned the mystery of purpose. They've become so fixated on earning a woman's attention that they've forgotten how to earn their own respect. And what's worse, they think transparency means full exposure. No, transparency is not the absence of boundaries. It's the presence of integrity. You don't win her soul by handing her every piece of your identity on day one. You win it by being a man so rooted in his mission that she becomes curious about you. See, if you're constantly trying to explain yourself, justify yourself, or overexpose your vulnerabilities, you kill the very thing that creates emotional gravity. You rob her of the wonder. And psychologically, people are not obsessed with what they understand. They are obsessed with what they can't quite figure out. That's the paradox. Now, let's be honest. Weak men overshare. Weak men seek to be understood before they've even built a self-worth understanding. They mistake attention for affection and exposure for intimacy. But true masculine power isn't loud. It's felt. It's the calm intensity of a man who doesn't need to shout about who he is because his presence already says it. A man with mystery does not hide himself. He disciplines himself. He knows when to speak, when to listen, and most of all, he understands that self-restraint isn't repression, it's reverence. Reverence for himself. Reverence for the unfolding of connection. He understands that revelation without timing is chaos. So let me ask you, are you mysterious because you're afraid of being known? Or because you're too focused on building something worth revealing? Because here's the psychological contrast. When a man reveals everything too early, he relieves the woman of any real discovery, and without discovery, there is no obsession-only exhaustion. But when he reveals himself gradually, in moments of trust, through acts of consistency and depth, he creates emotional velocity. Every layer she uncovers makes her more invested, more intrigued, more drawn. And what's the result? She starts thinking about him when he's not around. Not because he's manipulative, but because he's authentic, grounded, whole heads, not trying to impress, but he's impossible to ignore. This isn't about control. This is about weight. A man of mystery has psychological weight. He cannot be moved by shallow emotions. He doesn't chase chaos, anchors it. As we continue, let's delve into how you can embody this rare and powerful form of masculinity. Ready to learn how to master it? Let's explore further. As we've seen, it's not about seeking validation or approval. It's about being so rooted in your purpose that others are drawn to the strength of your character. Let's dive deeper into why that makes all the difference in building lasting connections. In a world of men addicted to being liked, he's addicted to being true. You want her obsessed? Then stop bleeding your identity into every conversation, hoping to be chosen. Become so consumed by your purpose that she chooses to chase the parts of you that even you haven't fully discovered yet. Because in the end, it's not about hiding who you are. It's about being someone so real, so disciplined, so layered that the more she sees, the more she wants to see. And here's your mic drop. A man with mystery doesn't make her guess who he is. He makes her earn the right to know. Why is it that the man who respects himself the least expects love the most? Why do we have this absurd notion that being loved is some kind of entitlement? You see, love real lovey's not given freely to someone who hasn't earned their own damn respect. And if you're a man who's built nothing within yourself, what exactly are you asking her to fall in love with? This is where most relationships collapse before they even begin. A man with no standards for himself cannot uphold any standards for a relationship. And yet, he wonders why it's always chaos, why she pulls away, why she stops trusting, why her admiration slowly turns into contempt. But it's not complicated. It's because you cannot lead someone else into emotional stability if you're still a stranger to your own. Let's not sugarcoat this. A woman isn't attracted to a man who needs her to survive. She's drawn to the man who can thrive without her, but chooses her anyway. That distinction is everything. It separates the boy who clings from the man who builds. And what does he build? Himself, through discipline, through self-respect, through sacrifice. He's not obsessed with being loved, he's obsessed with being worthy of it. He's not begging for reassurance. He's creating a life that radiates assurance. Now, here's where it gets raw. If you think your brokenness makes you more lovable, you've misunderstood the entire concept of intimacy. Vulnerability is not about trauma dumping in hopes that she'll feel sorry enough to stay. It's about owning your pain with such maturity and responsibility that she doesn't see your wounds. She sees your resilience. And that's what draws her in. That's what builds trust. Not your sob story, your sovereignty. Let's talk about strength. Because strength isn't aggression. It's not bravado. And it's certainly not manipulation masked as charm. Strength is your capacity to carry psychological weight, to look chaos in the face and say, "Not today." Now, let's explore how you can build this kind of strength and resilience. How can you truly embody the power of self-mastery that makes you not only attractive, but irresistible? Let's dive into the next phase of this journey. As we've explored, true strength comes not from performance, but from being rooted in something deeper, something that provides security, stability, and depth. Let's continue by diving into what it truly means to build a lasting connection with her. It's the ability to choose character over comfort when everything inside you wants to collapse. And if she doesn't feel safer when she's around you, physically, emotionally, spiritually, then you haven't built strength. You've built a performance. So I ask you, what are you really offering her? Are you offering a man she can trust in a storm? Or a boy who becomes the storm the second he's misunderstood? Are you offering consistency? Or just temporary charm that fades the moment you're challenged? Because the truth is, most men don't lose women to other men. They lose them to the emotional and spiritual weight they failed to develop. And once that's gone, she doesn't leave to find someone better. She leaves to find herself again, because you made her carry what you refused to confront. But let's flip the script, because here's the good news. When you stop trying to be liked and start becoming trustworthy, everything changes. You become a lighthouse in her world of confusion. You become the man she doesn't just want, but respects. And from that respect, love grows deeply, fiercely, and without condition. So stop asking what you need to say to get her attention. Start asking what you need to become to deserve her loyalty. Because at the end of the day, love isn't something you demand. It's something you earn. And if you want her to stay, here's the mic drop. Become the kind of man whose presence makes leaving feel like a loss. Why do we chase the thrill of being wanted but fear the responsibility of being needed? This is the root of modern relationship dysfunction. We've become addicted to attention but allergic to commitment. We crave validation, not connection. And the cost of that? It's staggering. We create relationships that feel good in the moment but collapse under the slightest weight of truth, pressure, or adversity. Let me tell you something brutal. A relationship built on dopamine dies with discomfort. If she's only obsessed with how you make her feel when it's convenient, it's not love. It's emotional escapism. And you're not her partner. You're her distraction. So what do we do instead? You become the anchor, not the addiction. The man who offers depth over flash, presence over performance. And that takes discipline. It takes courage. Because the truth is, the man who truly wins her soul isn't the one who triggers her emotions. As we continue, let's delve into the next steps. How can you master this inner strength and discipline that will transform your relationships? Let's uncover the path forward. As we've discussed, real strength is about emotional sovereignty and mastering your internal world. Now let's dive into what that truly means in the context of building a deep, lasting connection. It's the man who teaches her nervous system peace. Think about that. Do you know what that requires of you? It demands emotional sovereignty. You must master your internal world so deeply that her storms don't shake you. They center you. You must be so grounded in who you are that her anxiety doesn't provoke defensiveness, but empathy. Not passive empathy, the kind that listens, truly listens and holds space without flinching. That is power, quiet, unshakable power. But here's where most men fail. They think being calm means being silent. Number. That's cowardice dressed up as stoicism. Being a real man means you speak the truth not to control her, but to protect the relationship. And you speak it with love, not ego. And that, gentlemen, is how you break cycles. That's how you stop recreating your father's failures or society's toxic patterns. You stop responding to her with fear, resentment, or avoidance, and instead you respond with presence, with principle, with strength. Now, let's go even deeper. What kind of man do you have to become to give her peace without becoming her emotional crutch? Because if you're not careful, you'll confuse codependence with love. You'll start thinking her need for you is a measure of your value, and when she pulls away to find herself as she must, you'll collapse. But here's the higher truth. Love is not found in constant closeness. It's built in the tension between freedom and responsibility. So don't try to own her. Don't try to fix her. Create a space so stable, so honest, and so strong that she chooses to return to it again and again, not because she needs you, but because you make her better. But you can't fake this. Women are wired to detect incongruence. They can smell emotional weakness disguised as charm. You want her to be obsessed with you? Good. Then give her something real to admire. Not your Instagram lifestyle, not your rehearsed lines, but your character, your growth, your depth. Now, pause and ask yourself, are you building yourself into a man who evokes admiration? Because attraction fades, but admiration compounds. So, here's the challenge. Stop performing. Start transforming. Let the world see a man who has faced his chaos and forged clarity from it. Let her meet a man who doesn't just chase her, but one who leads her through the fire of life with honor and grace. And if you really want her to be obsessed with you completely, willingly, and passionately, then listen closely. Become the man who is so rooted in truth that even her doubt can't uproot her faith in you. As we move forward, let's explore how you can embody this powerful transformation and how it will not only change your relationships, but your entire life. Ready to take the next step? Let's dive in.